Hey folks, it's Friday, February the 10th, 2012. It looks like it's going to be a great day in western North Carolina. It's a little bit of frost on the ground right now, but it's supposed to warm up to like 60 degrees, so it's going to be a great day. I wanted to just quickly just do a real quick video. I wasn't planning on doing anything, but I watched a couple of videos this morning about Nutcase preppers. Um, I was actually watching Matt on Not Enough Ammo channel, and he hit on some pretty good things. There are always in every crowd a certain number of people who are, you might say, unbalanced or not quite all there. And I'm not talking about specialization. I realize there are people on YouTube who specialize in a certain part or segment of what we call prepping. Um, Actually, prepping is just prudence, in my opinion. It's just common sense. There are people who specialize, though. There are people who talk about weapons pretty much exclusively. Um, and that's fine. I get it. I mean, there are people whose interests are weapons, and they grab onto one piece of this thing that we call prepping, and they run with it, and that's a good thing. It's not necessarily bad. When it becomes bad is when everything's a conspiracy, everybody's out to get you, and you spend all your time talking about weapons and for the sake of destruction and death, and somebody's going to kick down my door. um, I think maybe you're spending a little too much time um, watching Mad Max, that kind of thing. um, there are some really good people out there, though, who are just you know trying to help. They're trying to help you to pick the right defensive weapon, that kind of thing, for your home. And there's nothing wrong with that. Another one is somebody I watch regularly is the Patriot Nurse. Like me, she is a native Tennessean. She still lives in Tennessee, and she has some really great information on first aid, when the spaghetti hits the fan type situations where you may have to fix a bullet wound, or you may have to deal with somebody who has a flu, and what types of antibiotics you should give them, or an STD and what types of antibiotics you could give them, and CPR and first aid, and she's just a wealth of information. I highly recommend her, the Patriot Nurse. So specialization isn't necessarily a bad thing, but there comes a point when you you go from just being prudent, and you move over into paranoia, and paranoia is never a good thing. Um, a healthy amount of fear doesn't hurt. It can motivate you. It can make you do things that you ordinarily wouldn't do. It gets you up off your butt, cause you to maybe do some things that you need to do. But paranoia is fear that has taken control of you, and that's never a good thing. Um, I'm not saying that there's not reason to be alarmed or disturbed by things that are going on in the world. There's a lot of craziness in the world these days. There's a lot of danger in the world. It's not a safe place to live. Um, you know, there's always a possibility of danger. There's always a possibility of disaster, and a healthy amount of fear as a motivator isn't necessarily a bad thing. But when you let it just take control of you, and you become convinced that behind every rock there's conspiracy, and you spend too much time concentrating on one area, I think that you may have crossed over that line. I'm just going to give you the definition, the dictionary definition of prudence, because that's what I'm all about here. I want to be balanced in my approach. And I'm actually going to get into some where the rubber meets the road type stuff next week. I really wasn't even planning on doing a video today, but after watching Matt's video, I thought, well, maybe I should say something. The dictionary definition of prudence: the ability to govern and discipline oneself by the use of reason. Govern and discipline oneself. When you're doing that and you're using reason to do so, then you're not going to allow yourself to go over into the land of paranoia. Now, you're not going to think that everything's all Skittles and rainbows either, the way, my friend Dave says, Skittles and rainbows. Everything's not perfect in this world, but certainly we need to keep our heads about ourselves. We need to be prudent. We need to be reasonable. We need to use common sense. Another definition is the sagacity or shrewdness in the management of one's affairs. It's good to be shrewd. It's good to be smart, wise, which is sagacity, in managing our affairs. Skill and good judgment in the use of our resources. And caution and circumspection as to danger or risk. Now that's Merriam-Webster's definition of prudence. What once was considered just normal somehow has become abnormal. Once upon a time, our grandparents put up food. They had a garden. They kept a weapon at the house. Grandpa probably had a 12-gauge shotgun with several boxes of shells for home defense, for hunting, for whatever. To Grandpa, the shotgun was just a tool in his arsenal of tools, like his shovel and his rake and his plow and his tractor or his mule. All of those things were tools. Tools are a good thing, but we need to be prudent in the exercise of using our tools. We don't want to become imbalanced and think that a gun or a knife or a shovel is the only tool that we need. As far as food storage is concerned, if you're my age, 50 plus, your grandparents probably had a garden. Your grandma probably canned food, put back for a rainy day as a hedge against hard times. My parents grew up during the Depression, and even my parents were very prudent in the management of their affairs. They were very prudent in, having food and things like that in the house, just in case. So anyway, there are some nutcases out there. All you have to do is peruse YouTube for a little while. Just put in prepping, and you'll be taken on a whirlwind ride of everything from, sensible precautions to all sorts of conspiracy theories. Yes, there are some nuts out there, but there are also some very good information as well. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. My dad used to say, eat all the meat, throw the bone away. And that's what you should do. Take what you can get that makes good sense to you. And the people that talk about contrails and being chemtrails, which I think is crazy. I actually watched a video of a guy who said, what are they spraying up there? Well, it's called water vapor. That's what they're spraying up there. When a jet engine operates, in the 11 to 1500 degree temperature range, and it's moving through an atmosphere that is sub-freezing, you're going to have condensation. It's called contrails, my friend, not chemtrails. And I understand that the government has done some studies and experiments on weather control and that kind of thing. That's what the Department of Defense does. They spend our tax dollars to do all sorts of things. Some in control the weather, if they can. Yeah, okay. But that's not part of prepping. Prepping is just it's actually normal. It's just putting away. It's just making your larder or your grocery stock a little larger. It's looking at the possibilities of what could happen in financial sense, a governmental sense, um, and just making prudent preparations, common sense stuff. Anyway, you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next week. Bye.